What is gravity?
I have no idea. Okay, next question. This is called gravity. We can describe gravity. We can say what it does to other things. This is called gravity.
Neil, I gotta say, you're totally blowing my mind right now.
That's what I do. I'm Neil deGrasse Tyson, bitch.
What's up, guys? John TheMorgile here. Hope y'all are doing well. I think we've got some live viewers. If you could maybe throw me a thumbs up and spit something out in the chat, I would appreciate it. And I'm going to try to say hi in there as well. Okay. Yeah, obviously, I was entering a feedback loop there for a minute, so I think that we're live. If y'all could let me know, and I guess I'm gonna have to go on over to the YouTube end and make sure. I think we're good. Yeah, 11 watching. Okay, so, well, that's why the feedback loop would have been a thing, right? Okay. Okay, yes, I think we're good. So what's up, everybody? I'm going to play this in just for a minute. I think I've solved the audio issue. If y'all can let me know. But I think that it should not pop like it was. Hey, what's up, Dennis Hatfield? Yeah, so I'm just gonna play a bit. I have this strange habit of confirming things too much, but I think we're good. So I'm just gonna play for a minute and one song. So I'm not gonna play y'all's ear off, and then we're gonna get into talking about just a couple things, and then we'll wrap it up within an hour for sure. Because really, I'm just testing these new settings, and I do have a couple of items that I wanted to review with you guys. So we could probably do an hour out of it. Anyway, enough said. And if y'all could let me know in the chat if it does that popping crap again, because I can't hear the output. Okay. Thank you in advance. And no, I'm not paid, y'all. Y'all are not on payroll. So I'm going to pull a Mr. Beast on you. I'm just going to turn y'all into basically my slaves and minions, and not pay you worth a damn. Okay. Yeah, well, that sucked. For some reason, those bar chords just kill my wrist, dude. All right. Okay. So, what's up, y'all? Any pop in there? Any pop in there? I can't see the damn chat feed off this way for some reason. Hello, hello. What's up, all of yous? So, John TheMorgile here. Hope y'all are doing well. Let me give me 10 seconds while I go ahead and put my guitar up, y'all. 10 seconds. Thank you, thank you. There's a certain order I got to do this for sure, or I'll just make a mess out of everything. There we go. All right. White, black, white, black. Shit. And you know what, you guys? I might have totally screwed the pooch on that because I intended to turn the air conditioner off when right before I started, right? But I forgot to do that, so it was probably a daggone mess, right? So I apologize if that was the case. But I had every intention of turning the air off because I think that may have been what was causing a lot of that popping. So if that was just a popping in your ear, I definitely do apologize. So let me close some of this stuff out. If somebody could throw up a comment on YouTube, I'd appreciate it because I just want to see if the comment's going to come through on my feed here over on my end. Or do I have to keep it look? Yeah, because the only comment I see, wait a minute, yeah. Okay, so Stuart Allen, DD101, hello, hello, coming through fine. Thank you, Dennis, I appreciate it. All right, great, that's what I'd love to hear. I thought I had solved the issue, but you never really know until you go live, and it's kind of hard to go live and hear what's coming out on the other end, you know what I mean? So I do appreciate your help. Man, I must be doing something wrong sitting like in this cramped little confined area because for some reason those bar chords are just killing my carpal tunnel. Something awful. But oof, yeah, sometimes it hurts. Okay, so let's see. And of course, I inadvertently closed out some of my tabs here. So let's see. Get back to where we were. And you know, it's so funny because we're going to read from space.com, and these are all, you know, they glorify NASA and they glorify the infinite space paradigm. And like somebody like me who thinks the Earth is flat, they would obviously think I'm just some crazy nut job who doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. You know, I get it. But from where I'm sitting, um, the majority of the people that work at places like space.com and capitalize on the sort of infinite space lore more than most people do. So they definitely have a vested interest in perpetuating this space fakery, even if they aren't doing so intentionally, like nefariously. They're just doing their job, and they believe wholeheartedly, you know, that their ass lives stuck to the side of some spinning ball, flying around in space 5 directions at once, and you know, there's no no evidence for any of that motion. There's no evidence for any of the curvature that must necessarily exist if the Earth was a ball, as they claim. But I'm the crazy one because and I'm not the only one, but so we're the crazy people, because we have actually gone back and questioned our beliefs that were instilled in us, or really foisted upon us under duress when we were very young, prone to flights of fancy and believing in things like Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. So they foisted this belief system on us when we were young, under duress, when we didn't really have any sort of opportunity or means or wherewithal to disagree or logically interject in that conversation, right? And if we did, it was shot down very quickly because a young child is in no position to argue or debate with an adult, right? But the thing is, if you actually go back as an adult and rationally, skeptically revisit this whole topic of, whether the Earth is a ball or not, you'll be astonished to find that no, indeed, the curvature that a sphere Earth necessitates doesn't exist, right? Because every part of a large area of water should be the arc of that sphere, right? And the surface of standing water would be the best indicator, better than land, which can be prone to undulation of hills and valleys and things like that. Whereas the surface of the water is going to be either perfectly curved if it's a ball, or perfectly flat if it's a plane. And so if you actually, it doesn't matter why you do it, but if you actually go back and measure the Earth for this curvature that is demanded by the ball, that curvature doesn't exist, right? It's not there. And I think furthermore, and even more profoundly and more obviously, is the motion, right? There are some fairly set in stone laws of physics out there, right? Those laws of physics, pertaining to bodies in motion, apply to all physical objects in nature that have that are in motion, right? And when you're talking about spinning objects going around orbital trajectories, in theory, there's all sorts of built-in acceleration, not just angular acceleration, which counts, but also definite acceleration in terms of just velocity, speed, increases and decreases. It necessarily must, according to their theory, in order for orbital mechanics to work, right? And the thing is, I'm getting interrupted. What's up? I'm live streaming, remember?
Oh, wow.
She's fine. Yeah. Orbital mechanics and stuff, whatever, it doesn't matter. Fuck. Okay, so let's see. Can somebody, okay, so it is definitely populating the chat over here. Sorry, y'all. Okay, well, hopefully I did not lose you guys, and it looks like I'm getting an ad on my end, so let me skip that. I'm just trying to make sure that audio is. Yes, it is. Okay. All right. But okay, so orbital mechanics demands not just acceleration in terms of angular acceleration, which is represented in the physical realm as centrifugal force, right? But like again, in order for certain elements of orbital mechanics to work, in theory, and I could explain it, but it demands that so like third generational satellite bodies like the moon, in this theory, would it would necessarily have to accelerate at certain times and then decelerate at other times and even retrograde at other times to ensure that it is its velocity relative to the velocity of the Earth is a constant, I think 2288 miles an hour is what they say. But in order for that to work, you see, so the Earth is always allegedly traveling in a single direction around the sun. You could say it's going from west to east if you're thinking of it a certain way. but the moon is basically adherent to the same plane, more or less, the ecliptic plane that the Earth is supposedly racing around. And so there are times when the moon is necessarily like racing against the trajectory and the direction of the Earth, around the outside of the track, no less. And then the other half of the time, it's they're going in opposite directions, right? But the moon is a consistent 2288 relative to the Earth, and so in order, if you give them that for argument's sake, and you give them orbital mechanics for argument's sake, it demands the sort of intelligent acceleration and deceleration of the moon in order to make the whole thing work. I mean, it's absurd. Like every element, no matter how granular you get into the deception that is the heliocentric model, it all falls apart. Like every bit of it is bullshit. And again, all they've got controlling the so-called orbit of the moon is just gravity. You've got the centrifugal and centripetal force of gravity, right? So like the moon is supposedly tethered, more or less tethered to the Earth by the vacuum of space. So like the tether is nothing, right? Because we all know how nothing, a vacuum, is a nice tensile material, right? Because you can always just tie things down with nothing, and that works all the time, doesn't it? Of course it does, right? But so anyway, of course that's layman, but so yeah, so the moon is tied to the Earth by gravity, and somehow the moon is able to maintain a 2288 mile per hour velocity relative to the velocity of the Earth, even though, again, sometimes it would need to race against the Earth and travel much faster than the Earth around the outside of the track. And then other times it needs to sort of slow down or retrograde in order to assure that it doesn't just go zooming on past the Earth, as they travel in opposite directions, like, like cars on opposite ends of the freeway. No, it doesn't matter. All observations of the moon, it is a consistent speed regardless of where it is in its orbit, in quotes, orbit, which proves, it's just yet another thing that proves that the heliocentric model absolutely does not work. And another big part, I would say, the moon. We had a beautiful, bright, full moon. It seemed to me like 3 days in a row we had a full moon at night, and I saw the moon 3 times in a row, like in the middle of the night, right? Just this the other day, like it was a damn big, beautiful moon. But I like, wow, 3 nights in a row, it's almost practically full. It was just kind of weird, but contrast that to the times that I've seen the full moon in the middle of broad daylight, right? And those two observations simply do not work. Full moon in broad daylight and full moon at night. Those two things contradict the heliocentric model, right? Because the phases of the moon are like a perfect indicator of where the moon physically should be positioned relative to the Earth and the sun, right? And so like the full moon should be 180 degrees opposite the sun relative to an observer on the Earth, and the no moon should be like more or less aligned to the sun on the day side of the Earth, right? And the fact that we see full moons in the middle of the day, or like very slight crescent moons in the middle of the night, even once ever, let alone dozens and dozens of times that we've observed it and documented it. But that debunks the heliocentric theory. Like it's yet another thing. It's all of these are empirical sort of nails in the coffin for the globe. The globe's been dead a long time. Like the only reason that the globe is able to stick around, like some kind of Frankenstein or like Richard Ramiro movie or something, like Night of the Living Globe or whatever. It's just like it's crazy, man. It's crazy because it sticks around only because of that programming, right? Like, it's like Jason Voorhees. The globe is Jason Voorhees after like Jason Part 11 or whatever, right? You've done killed this motherfucker a bunch of ways, a bunch of different times, like set his ass on fire, like Rasputin, right? But he just keeps coming back. The globe keeps coming back, and the reason is because it is reinforced by all of the educational institutes and these other big budget institutes like NASA, and then all of the Hollywood movies. Like, I mean, we've all been aware that the movies are like sort of not a good place to source your information, right? So like there's a lot of wicked and evil shit going on in the movies, and as people that are woke before the term got hijacked and turned into some gay shit, But being woke, sort of entails understanding that Hollywood is evil and corrupt and not a good influence on our young budding minds. But when you realize flat Earth, it's just a whole nother layer to that, because just look at the amount of infinite space programming that goes into the movies. And I don't think that that's by accident. I think that's obviously done intentionally, because people, when you watch films, your brain is sort of changed into a different alpha wave state, so it like modulates your brain waves. So like basically what it is you get into sort of like a hypnotic trance when you veg out at the TV and watch. It's basically multiple dilemmas or multiple non-threatening catastrophes that just sort of overload your senses, right? And so you get vegged out, you get into an alpha state, you get your logical thought processes are sort of bypassed, and your subconscious mind is open to much influence that normally, you have to think about things to adjust your beliefs in your subconscious. But when you're vegged out in a hypnotic trance state watching these movies, it actually programs you on a deeper level than just your waking rational mind. Like we make most of our decisions on a subconscious level without even thinking about it, right? And so advertisers know this, just like read Edward Bernays, about propaganda and public relations or whatever. And they've been doing this a long time, and they've made a science out of it, an actual science, not like scientism, but they've made a science out of manipulating people, especially people at young ages, to believe certain ways and to reinforce certain status quos, and to reinforce certain beliefs or like conventional wisdoms, so that your average person, when they are confronted with the concept of flat Earth, it goes against all of these subconscious beliefs that they have, and like maybe even a crush on Princess Leia or something like that. But it is deep, and in fact, they definitely do use, you know, sexual stuff for subliminal influence. That's like one of the classic things, is to associate a brand with some sort of a sexual thing, right? It's classic 101 stuff. But I would also say that when you start targeting stuff like that towards children, it makes you one sort of a sick fuck, in my opinion. Excuse my French if there are any kids watching, but it just makes you an evil person, like to start mucking about in the subconscious minds of children on a institutional level, or like a society culture wide level. Like that's crazy, but apparently that's what they've been doing. And when it comes to the educational system, man, it's the same thing. Like especially public education, is just programming our children into basically becoming functioning automatons that can serve the beast system without asking too many questions, without rocking the boat too much, and just becoming a brick in that wall, right? Whatever. So let's check in on the chat. You get the point. Audio is excellent. Great. Well, that's awesome. I appreciate the input. Thank you. Sounds like do I need more volume? Let me raise the volume on myself real fast. And I'm still not seeing the live stream chat. That really pissed me off. But okay, so if that is much better, if that is better than butter, then let me know. So okay, space.com. Watch this. Watch NASA astronaut, 2 record-breaking cosmonauts head home to Earth on September 23rd. So let me go ahead and I will share this. Share this with y'all, lovely people. I love that ability. Like, it's so much better than not having that ability, but it does bog the computer down something awful. Okay. When you purchase links through our site, we may earn an affiliate commission. Okay. So the Roscosmos Soyuz M25 spacecraft is pictured docked to the International Light-Mobile's Prychal module in this long-duration photo as it orbited 258 miles above Nigeria. Image credit of NASA. Now, if that ain't CGI, dude, I don't know what is. Like, honestly, it seems like CGI of NASA has gotten worse, man. Like, seriously. Let me just pull this into Photoshop. Yeah, I'm curious to see if I can share my screen Photoshop with y'all. I think I should be able to do that, huh? Let me stop sharing this screen here while I launch. It is a Photoshop. And while that's launching, I'll keep reading, but I am curious to see what this image looks like in Photoshop. A NASA astronaut and 2 record-setting. Oh, fuck a doodle doo. Sorry, y'all. Photoshop just popped up on me. Copy that image. Yeah, let me try. Let me just see if I can share my screen Photoshop-wise with y'all. Okay. Okay, we'll just do the entire screen. How's that sound? No, it won't let me. Huh, Chrome tab. No, it will not let me share my entire screen. Okay, well, just forget it then. I can share Documents File Explorer. Like, why would I ever want to share that? Okay, so if I do Photoshop, I just wonder. I wonder, is that working? No, it is not. Okay, so forget it. I'm not going to bore y'all if I can't even share it with you as I edit the image in Photoshop, but I bet you if I was to just create a new file. Okay, and then we'll just do some quick adjustments. Yeah, this is just gonna bore the shit out of you guys if you can't see what I'm doing. So I'll mess with that later. And if I do find any evidence that NASA's faking their images of the Limobiles, then I will definitely post it up either in a video or like just as a post on YouTube or whatever, or Facebook or something. But I'm not gonna bore you guys with me like y'all watching my face as I look at an image in Photoshop. It's just super boring. Okay, and I'll stop sharing this documents thing. Yeah, because why would you ever want to look at that? That's crazy that it lets you share that, but not Photoshop. Okay, whatevs. So let's just get back on with the article. Russia's Soyuz MS-25 spacecraft with Tracy C. Dyson, Oleg Kononenko, and Nikolai Chubb aboard is scheduled to undock from the International Limobile on Monday, 4:37 a.m. and land on the steppe of Kazakhstan about 3.5 hours later. Okay, so when it comes to this sort of thing, it really makes the banter back and forth between our federal administrations and Putin or whatever, like the Russian oligarchy or whatever it is. Because they pretend to be enemies, don't they? They pretend that like we're supposed to be afraid of Russia and we're supposed to fear like nuclear war, which is never going to happen because nukes don't exist and couldn't possibly exist, in my opinion. But yeah, they're supposed to be our enemies and we're supposed to be afraid of them, and yet we can just ball out with them up in our Limobiles, right? And they're definitely lying, right? And the reason that we know that they're definitely lying is that pesky lack of Earth curvature and motion, right? Because in order for NASA to be telling the truth, the Earth sort of has to be a spinning ball flying around in space in 5 directions at once. Spinning around like a speeding bullet on frickin' methamphetamine or whatever. It's crazy how fast they say the ball's spinning and flying through space. It's ridiculous. And yeah, speed is a relative thing, and if you're talking about, galaxy-sized objects or solar-sized objects, these rates are not all that fast. They're still pretty fast, but not all that fast, right? But when you're talking about as observed from the human being scale, which is, by the way, the only scale that anyone can ever observe anything is like the human being scale, those speeds are super fast. And the thing is the amount of acceleration is what's key. It's not necessarily the speed, but it's the amount of acceleration, right? And just for one example, according to Spinning Ball Earth, in the morning when the sun's coming up, you're standing on the nose of Speeding Bullet Earth. And then 12 hours later, as you allegedly spin around the Earth, you're spinning on the tail of sitting on the tail of speeding bullet Earth, right? So that's going from traveling 66,000 miles an hour that way, standing on the nose of the bullet, to standing on the tail of that bullet 12 hours later. That is a major acceleration. But then you also have all of these curved linear trajectories that are compounding and sort of disagreeing with each other at certain points. You would never have two moments that would ever be remotely similar in terms of the combination of accelerations between like galactic orbit, solar orbit, and then that spin that's constantly changing vectors at 15 degrees an hour or whatever. But anyway, the whole thing is just hogwash because there is no evidence for any of this motion. Um, there's no evidence for axial rotation, no evidence for orbital motion, and we would know it, right? The Earth is indeed a fixed frame of reference. It is. And that's not argued by the globetards. The Earth is a fixed frame of reference. A perfectly fixed frame of reference, to the point to where, like, it doesn't matter which way you fire a sniper rifle or fly a plane or launch a rocket, the Earth is stationary beneath all moving objects regardless. And the simple fact of the matter is that it's impossible for a spinning ball that's flying around 5 directions at once. And that's regardless of what you convince yourself that the atmosphere is doing as some sort of a magical atmosphere, right? It causes planes to remain flying east, even though they are accelerating west with 4 jet engines attached to the plane, hauling ass in the opposite direction. But no, it's still going east at 1,000 miles an hour because it has to be in order for the globe to work, right? So that's how the globetards are, man. Their logic is bass backwards, and I know from where I'm sitting that just sounds absurd, right? But the flat earthers telling me that I'm ass backwards. Yeah, it is. It's ass backwards. You don't start with your conclusions and then work back from that. You start with the facts, and the facts are there's no curvature to the Earth. It's not moving. So by those two very things, it couldn't be a spinning ball for sure, which means NASA's lying their ass off. They have been since they were founded by literal Nazis through Operation Paperclip, in the 1950s or whatever, 1940s, 1950s. And it's not just Werner von Braun either. There was like hundreds of these people. And, nothing against German people. I'm part German myself, so like I don't hate myself either. Um, there's a whole nother story to World War II and what happened around that peripherally, but we're not going to get into that on YouTube. Honestly, I think I'll probably have to start some other kind of channel and speak my voice on there because I keep getting strikes left and right retroactively for stuff from years ago through YouTube, and it's like it used to be they would just cancel your channel, so I really appreciate them not doing that. Although at the same time, like how can it be okay to talk about something at one point and then later on, first of all, there shouldn't be anything that you can't talk about on YouTube. See, that's the whole thing. YouTube, when they got into the business of censoring people and dictating what they will allow to be said on their platform, and also playing favorites against people based on their race, color, or creed, you can't do that. That's discrimination. That's a civil rights violation. There's laws against that. And, when YouTube sort of crossed the line coming out of being a sort of private third-party platform for other creators to showcase their information. So YouTube is just a disinterested third-party platform. When they crossed the boundary from that into a publisher and censorer of information and content, they have now thusly opened themselves up to litigation. I believe it could be argued in a court of law that ultimately YouTube, Google, and these bastardos are going to have to pay out the ass for these civil rights violations because, something that really irks me is like when people cheat at a game or something. Like even Monopoly or like cards, man, that shit pisses me off. It really does when someone is a cheater, and especially on like online video games, man. When you get these people that get like aim bots and they get like cheats and stuff for online, especially like first-person shooter games. It really is. I got a special nerve for these people, man. It really gets under my skin because I think part of it is, I mean, I'm not a very competitive person, but I do like a competition, and I think that competition can bring the best out in us, right? Because if you're trying to beat somebody, you're gonna maybe put forth other extra effort that you wouldn't have normally put forth if you weren't trying to beat someone, right? So, competition can be healthy and it can be beneficial. Um, but when people cheat or when there's unfair advantages given to other people, that really gets on my nerves, especially when it's my livelihood at stake, right? Um, and when it comes to YouTube, like cherry picking who they promote and cherry picking who they blackball, um, it eschews the playing field, and it really pisses me off in a very particular sort of way, almost like it pisses me off when someone is aimbotting on a video game. It's almost like that. Only, they're doing this on a institutional level, like they're doing this to a lot of people, millions of people, and they are part of the problem. Like it is part of the problem when conversations can't be freely disseminated through public platforms. And it could be argued that YouTube is a public works, right? Like far and away, like the largest video sharing platform there is. Um, but when you start denying access to that or giving unfair advantages to people on those sort of public forums, um, that's some straight bullshit, dude. That's what I'm saying. That's some straight bullshit. And I know, I'm certain that if YouTube hadn't had blackballed the crap out of my channel would have been way more successful. Like it's obvious to me. Like it's not even a question. And I'm not bitter about it. And I do sort of hold out hope for the future that maybe it'll change one day and they'll just, unblack fuck my channel or whatever. But I just don't see that happening, and it's across the board. Like it's not just YouTube; it's on Facebook. Like I've got like 4,000 friends on Facebook, and anytime I share something on Facebook, that motherfucker will get seen or reacted to like twice ever. Like good luck. Like it's not even like, and they're all the same, dude. They're like all these social media sites are the same to where they're gonna promote freaking weirdos, pedophiles, and people promoting gambling to children, and just all kinds of weird stuff that they do. Garbage content that, like, honestly, watching that sort of content, just you lose brain cells. It's mindless drivel, and it's psychologically crafted to get children addicted to that sort of content. It's very nefarious. It's miserable business, in my opinion. But that's the shit that YouTube promotes. And of course, when it comes to truthers talking about something that is important, and even though your average Joe thinks it's crazy, I believe if YouTube hadn't had put a sort of cork in flat Earth when they did, how they obviously did, it would have been way bigger by now. I mean, it was like the most searched thing by far for a long time, and they had to do something about that because it is such an amazing truth. Like when someone actually starts to get this, it is such a unique thing because it's something I think we've all kind of known it deep down inside, right? I mean, because it's obviously not what they say, but I mean, like they programmed us when we were young. Like I remember like asking my parents and teachers, like, well, what do we live on the top of the ball? Like how do we stick to the side? And what keeps the air in? Like why doesn't the air just go out into space? And like all these questions that, they weren't deceiving us. It's not like your teachers or your parents were deceiving you. They were deceived themselves, weren't they? But like really, where does the buck stop with this shit, man? Like where does it stop? Like who is the person that started this lie? And like honestly, in my opinion, this is beyond a person or even a group of people, like maybe the Freemasons or something. I think it's even beyond them because Freemasons are people too. So who's sitting on the top of the Freemasons to put down these sort of anti-human dictates that are going to ultimately keep people as, automaton servants and slaves? And I know what the good book says, and what lots of sort of religious theories say, and that's like we're talking about the devil, right? I mean, who else could it be? Um, that's gonna, just hate fucking people so much. I don't know, man. Like, it's just weird to me. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought I was gonna go for an hour. I did go for an hour. We didn't even finish this article, but it says you can watch all the action live here at space.com, courtesy of NASA or directly via the space agency. Yeah, so just more bullshit from NASA. And they're doing that today. 12:45 a.m. So I guess this already happened. I'm having trouble understanding what times are, like what time zone they're talking about with that. GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. It's way the hell over in England or something, right? I don't know. Anyways, yeah, this is all. It says NASA's coverage will begin. Oh, September 22nd at 10:15 a.m. My bad. So this was yesterday. To show the change of command ceremony marking the end of the orbiting labs Expedition 71 and the beginning of Expedition 72. So NASA is a well-oiled machine indeed. You I know I damn sure would be if I was bilking America for over $20 billion a year in tax dollars, just faking space and getting rich doing it, lining their pockets. Probably, I think that they're doing a bunch of money laundering and stuff like that. I mean, I can't prove it, but I bet you there are some independent journalists that would be able to prove it with things that they have already in their hands. They just don't know how corrupt and full of shit NASA is, right? Because it is difficult for a normal person, a normal, decent person, right, that wouldn't hurt a fly and would like really truly do like anything for their friends or family. Decent people. There's lots of decent people out there, but it's unthinkable for a decent person to consider that people could actually be like evil villains, right? Um, because they would never do something like that. But in fact, there are people in this world that are just so corrupt, so demon influenced that they literally do like evil villainous shit that you would never expect, right? And especially like when you're working for a company like NASA, getting paid out the ass to do whatever it is they do, cut holes in donuts or whatever, because they sub everything out. But if you're making money at NASA for designing, toilet bowl suckers for the ISS, making $500,000 a year to draw up schematics, and why would you ever suspect that NASA's lying their asses off? Your paycheck cashes every month, right? They are a legitimate business. I mean, they put people on the moon in the 1960s. Of course they did. Yeah, they put people on the moon in a homeless tweaker shelter, right? Anyways, I just can't stand them, dude. They're just so on my nerves, and I'm gonna try to keep streaming as much as I can, you guys, for this next week, because I have to be out of my home on the 1st, and the way that things are looking, I'm probably gonna be stuck in a hotel again. As much as I hate to do that, we just don't have anywhere to go. We didn't have time to find anything. And even if I was to find something this week, there's just no way I have enough money to afford it. Um, I've got about $1,000 coming on the 1st, but I have to be out on the 1st. So I just don't know how I'm going to do this. Keep me in your prayers is what I'm saying, you guys. Y'all know how to get in touch with me. If I don't know your number, send me a text, because I do take phone calls and stuff, but if I don't recognize the number, I probably won't answer the phone, because I just get nonstop left and right bombardments of telemarketing calls. So if I don't recognize the number, there's a good chance I won't answer it, but send me a text, 864-315-7892. This has been John TheMorgile. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and I will see you very soon in the next one. As always, y'all spread the word, spread the world, and peace out, everybody. Y'all be good.